Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
And I would like to apologize for saying that children in America should have health care. It was insensitive. It was offensive, and I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. There's some very sick and sad people out there. Gee, I wonder why we're so angry. Maybe it has something to do with, I don't know, you. Listen, I don't want to... Newt Gingrich does know a lot about comedy. This is the guy who helped lead the impeachment effort against Bill Clinton for trying to cover up his affair while he was having an affair. That's hilarious. Come on, whatever you want to say about him.
While Republicans are dismantling Obamacare, Democrats are fighting back the only way they know how, through the power of visual arts. Because Democratic candidate for Virginia governor and man who 20 years later just realized who Kaiser Soze was, Tom Perriello, released the following ad right after the House voted on health care.
Republican leaders are trying to do this to affordable health care. I'm Tom Perriello, and in Congress I voted for Obamacare. Together, we can stop Donald Trump, raise wages, and build an economy that works for everyone. And we'll make sure this never happens in Virginia.
Wow, that's a great job. One take. I mean, you got to do that in one take.
You got one truck.
Right? I mean, as an actor, I'm watching that going, you got to do that in one take.
Yeah.
Or have a lot of ambulances standing by.
Right.
Honestly, it seems like it seems like a waste of a perfectly good ambulance until you realize without health care, we won't need them anymore.
Oh, we're the greatest nation in the world, everybody. The greatest nation in the world. Oh, God. Where do you start today? Where do you start? I guess we'll work our way into healthcare because Wendell Potter, who you might remember as a Cigna healthcare company, Cigna, the insurer, he was an executive, had a very big job over at Cigna for years and years until he realized that they were in the business of denying coverage to people, and then he became a whistleblower. So Wendell Potter will join us at 4:20 to discuss what's in this Senate piece of legislation. Yeah. So let's start with the dog and pony show last night in Iowa. Did you see that? This was Trump's first trip to the Heartland. This was his first trip west of the Mississippi since he took office. It's true. He spent more time in Saudi Arabia than he has in the American Heartland. But he trudged out there and put himself in front of 3 teenage girls. And can I just tell you what I do? Did you see that? Yeah. You forgot about that, didn't you? Yeah. Well, I didn't. You know why? I go in the chat rooms to watch. I don't watch on the TV or anything anymore. I just go into the chat rooms now because I'm so modern. I just go into the chat rooms and I pick the rightest of the right-wing ones that I can find and I insert myself in there. And of course, in our chat room, I post as the Randi Rhodes Show and I post that way everywhere across the internets so that, there's no, subterfuge. Is that too big of a word for the right wing? I think it is, because they can't spell. Can I just tell you, being in the chat rooms is such an eye-opening thing. They don't know the difference between T-O, T-O-O, T-W-O. They don't know the difference between Y-O-U-R, Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. They can't. I mean, it's like, why can't Johnny spell? And so sometimes I just tell myself it's because Johnny feels strong behind his keyboard after 4 Budweisers. This is what it is. And of course, I get called names and all this. And, I just say to him, ooh, good argument, or feeling strong tonight, whatever. But I watched them last night and, they were oogling. They were saying, Republican girls are so hot. Man, look at the Republican women. And I'm like, you freaking pedophiles. They're like 16 years old. Why did he put himself in front of Miss Teen USA contestants who he likes to peer in and inspect? It was very strange. The whole entire setting, the whole entire thing was very, very strange last night. But this is how it started.
Thank you, everybody.
You're
It
welcome.
is great to be back in the incredible, beautiful, great state of Iowa. Home of the greatest wrestlers in the world, including our friend Dan Gable. Some of the great, great wrestlers of the world, right? We love those wrestlers. It's always
This is how he
terrific to be
opens.
able to leave that Washington swamp and spend time with the truly hard-working people. We call them American patriots, amazing people.
Who he's about to screw really, really good and hard, which is the only thing he screws good and hard. Just look at Melania. Does she ever smile? No, never. So anyway, he tells them, it's great to be out of the Washington swamp, and I'm so glad to be in the Heartland, But of course, he flew out of the Heartland as fast as he could. He practically left skid marks last night. He was back in Washington by midnight last night. Doesn't he know that Iowa has hotels and he can get the presidential suite at the Motel 6? They'll leave the light on for him. Or is he too good for that? I swear to God. And by the way, if you stay away from the Washington swamp for too long, your scales are going to dry out and you will suffocate. He is a whale. He is really a whale. So this was his first trip to the Heartland, and that's how he opened it, saying hello to the wrestlers. The wrestlers? I mean, this is it was pretty strange. But then he got into the meat of what he came to say. And of course, I think he's reading some polling or some probing that's going on out in the hinterlands about why his approval rating is so stinking historically low. And I think some of his supporters, not the little teenage girls, because they don't know anything about this. Did you see them with the white nails? They were behind him with their little iPhones and stuff, taking pictures and tweeting. Yeah, tweeting to their friends and woohoo! Look, we got in the front, everybody. And they don't even know why, and it's because he's a pedophile. He likes young girls. But okay, so they put him in the front, and he's talking about how. Why, I guess one of the things that came across in the internal, this is gross, polling, is that people aren't happy that he put the people from Goldman Sachs in charge of the economy. The people who crashed the economy are now in charge of the economy. And I don't know if people realize, but Steve Mnuchin, he's not just a Goldman Sachs. He's a legacy Goldman Sachs. His dad was like president of Goldman Sachs, and now he was, president. And also, I think they have a problem in coal country with, leprechaun-y Wilbur Ross, because, Wilbur Ross was in charge of, it was on his watch when he owned the Sago mine, when the Sago mine disaster happened. And I think a lot of people, who do pay attention, or if this is their issue, that, especially the people that hate the Jews, why do we have Goldman Sachs in charge of the economy? We hate them. We just, we thought that you were, Jew hating enough, but apparently not. Anyway, so he said he was going to, he actually started explaining. This was so weird. Why is he talking about this in the first place? I have no idea. To a bunch of people in Iowa who care about, two things and two things only, and that is corn and pork. And by the way, Iowa has like the best food ever. When I was a truck driver, I used to drive from Milwaukee and I used to go through Iowa. It's really beautiful. It's very hilly, and you would stop and you'd have breakfast, and they had like the best freaking pork products ever. The best, like ham omelets, the best sausage. Not that I, ever want to see how they make it. But, But anyway, this is what he decided to tell them about. It was so weird.
We have the legendary Wall Street genius Wilbur Ross here. He's our Secretary of Commerce. We have Gary Cohn, who is the president of Goldman Sachs. In fact, he's the president of Goldman Sachs. He had to pay over $200 million in taxes to take the job, right? So somebody said, why did you appoint a rich person to be in charge of the economy?
Oh, God.
I said, no, it's true. And Wilbur's a very rich person in charge of commerce. I said, because that's the kind of thinking we want. I mean, you know, really, because they're representing the country. And I love all people, rich or poor. But in those particular positions, I just don't want a poor person. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? If you insist, I'll do it. But I like it better this way, right?
The little teenage girl that was just to his right there, she was like, oh, my God. Did he really just say that? Because, you know, we're like not rich people and stuff. So, like, how in the world do I ever, become part of this awesome Trump administration? Because, like, he doesn't like poor people and stuff. I guess he doesn't like poor people because, judging from his followers, you can see why he thinks poor people are morons. I can't believe he said that. And I was in the chat room and I wrote, did he just say that he hates poor people? Did he just say that? And I swear the chat room came to a screeching halt for about a whole 3 seconds, which is a long time because they're very busy, typing Pepe in there. And they're very busy putting little frog heads in there and writing InfoWars. That's what they do. And so, he might as well have said, like you people, for instance. He might as well have said, you swallow all my crap, and I just can't imagine somebody as dumb as you are in charge of the economy. And if he said that, they would have applauded, except for the little 16-year-old girl who went, oh, my God, I can't believe he just said that. Oh, my God. They don't realize, some of these people, that Trump thinks of them as poor people. I guess that, Trump is racist enough that they believe somewhere that when Trump says poor people, he means black people. I don't, I'm not really sure because, I just don't. Rich people are rich. I just want to explain this to the Trump supporters. Rich people are rich because they make the rules. You get that? People like you keep voting for rich people like Wilbur Ross to safeguard your economic interests. And look where it gets you. It takes your breath away when you actually realize what he said. He was explaining, and even while he was explaining that only the rich people can run the economy, there was a health care bill, there still is a health care bill pending that gives tens of billions of dollars to the super rich while slashing Medicaid for the poor. That's why he won't have a poor person running the economy. I mean, it is, you know what? Let's go back. Let's keep this really simple for those of you who only know him from The Apprentice, like his supporters, right? Okay, when the first season of The Apprentice, Trump literally fired the first person he fired on The Apprentice. I don't know if you remember. Let's refresh for you your memory. The very first challenge on the first season of The Apprentice, when it was actually a hit show. After 14 years, it was like in 67th place. But in the first year, it was a big damn deal. And so the first year, everybody watched. Do you remember the first challenge was to sell lemonade on the street, and whoever sold the most lemonade and raised the most money, that was the winning team. And of course, it was men against women, because it's always men against women in Trump land, right? Okay, and so the first person he fired was a guy who had a dual degree. Swear to God. The guy was an MD, he was a doctor, and an MBA. But he wasn't flashy. He was quiet. And remember, season 1, you had, as a winner, Omarosa. So he fired the best qualified person with a dual degree and instead went for amateur minister Omarosa as his winner of The Apprentice. Okay, I'm just saying, this is why he does it, this is why he picks guys like Wilbur Ross. It's almost like Wilbur Ross is super blackmailable because Wilbur Ross had all these miners. Only one miner came out of the Sago mine alive. Okay, these are the hardest working people, the poorest people, the people who are desperate and will risk their lives and lungs to do a job that is, listen, you got more people working in the donut industry. You got more baristas in this country than we do coal miners left. Total number of coal miners left in this country is 50,000. Why does he pander to them? He panders to them because he's going to put Wilbur Ross, the guy who killed them and got away with it, in charge of make him Commerce Secretary so that he can take away Medicaid and black lung disease coverage from the coal miners like Wilbur Ross desired in the first place. You know, break up those unions. I don't want to pay him a fair wage. Put Wilbur Ross in charge. I mean, it's baffling, this whole thing. Go to RandyRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.